Well, let's get more on one of our top stories this afternoon, and that's more than 70 registered sex offenders from the UK have been refused entry to countries in Southeast Asia in the last 2 years. Well, a major campaign by the National Crime Agency aims to stop known paedophiles abusing vulnerable children in a region long perceived as a destination of choice for sexual predators.
You look at them, you don't immediately have a judgment on whether they are here for prostitution and for other acts which is inimical to our safety. So when we receive their information, this information from their own governments, telling us that these individuals have been registered as sex offenders, then it helps us immediately to guard our border.
More countries across the region are expected to sign up to the intelligence sharing program in the near future. But just how effective are the measures in preventing the problem? Well, let's go live to East London and speak to criminal defence barrister Narita Bahra. Narita, thanks a lot for joining us this afternoon. So just how effective is it?
Hi, Kimberly. Well, I think the starting point has to be that all countries need to take steps to ensure that they look after and that they protect the vulnerable, in particular children. And we in the UK are now taking steps behind other countries. So, for example, last month Australia imposed a blanket ban on all sex offenders travelling out of Australia without permission. In February of 2016, we had Megan's Law in America, which resulted in the position becoming that those who are on the sex offenders register effectively have a chip put in their passport. So when they arrive at customs and immigration, that can be checked. So we are a little way behind. I don't think there can be any criticism of it being a harsh measure. I think the issue is that it can be perceived as too broad a measure. And for example, in the position of a young man who's 17 who sends his girlfriend a nude photograph on one occasion, he would also end up on the sex offenders register. And that would follow him from life, and he may not be able to then enter another country. So the issue really is, how do we prevent broad measures affecting those who may have become rehabilitated? What can we do in England and what do we do in the UK? Well, we already have sexual harm prevention orders, and they are very, very effective. But they probably could be made more effective by the judge who is assessing the facts of the case or plea sentence, to basically be assisted by probation services to assess dangerousness, harm, and then more importantly, to put a restriction on those offenders that he sees or she sees as a risk in relation to coming into the UK or leaving the UK.
So do you think perhaps a more effective campaign here would be that if we look at the scale of the offence and at the time of sentencing, when the individual is in front of the judge, do you think they could say you're not travelling at all and completely deny them a passport? Do you think that would be more effective than what's happening now?
Well, I think the difficulty now is somebody in the immigration office who's not armed with all the facts could be making a blanket ban effectively, just saying you're on the sex offenders register. And the sex offenders register covers such a wide range of sex offences. So, for example, somebody who accepted giving somebody an unwanted kiss would still appear on the sex offenders register. A prolific sex offender would appear on the sex offenders register. So there could be people who are rehabilitated effectively could be prevented from going into another country. And I think the risk assessment has to take place, and we already have that already in place in the UK. We're very, very lucky in that respect. But I think the authorities, when they are considering whether or not what sentence should be imposed or a sexual harm prevention order, what they then need to go on to consider, I think in these circumstances, is whether or not a travel ban should be imposed on that individual. And if that is harsh, well, that is harsh, but it's not broad, and it doesn't then affect those who have rehabilitated and can move on with their lives.
So do you think perhaps the problem then lies with the actual register and how we classify people?
Well, the difficulty with the register is it's a blanket register. So if you are convicted of a criminal sexual offence of any nature, you effectively end up on the register. The period of time you're on the register varies dependent upon the offence, but there isn't in the UK a classification as for child sex offences or adult sex offences. And as you will appreciate, some sex offenders who commit offences on adults are just as culpable or just as dangerous as those who commit offences on children. So the difficulty is that those who are caught at the lower end of the spectrum would then be caught by this general approach that's being imposed.
Okay, Narita Bahra, thank you so much for chatting to us this afternoon.
Thank you very much. Bye, Kimberly.
Bye.